Hello everybody. Hopefully if you're watching this video you've made it through lecture 1 and lecture 2. I hope everything is going well for you. At this point we should kind of be working out the kinks of any issues that we're having in the class. Hopefully you figured out how everything runs, how to study, what kind of things you need to prepare for on the test. So this video is just going to go over a quick overview for lecture test 3. And some good news about that is that in lecture test 3 we actually only have one chapter. And so we're going to take a look at the things to know. So this particular test we are now moving forward, and this is our first test that is going to be about body systems. We're going to be looking at our first system for AMP1, and that is going to be the integumentary system. So remember, we're kind of working our way through. We started off with the chemistry level. We moved up to the cellular level. We looked at tissues, and now we're actually going to move into the organs and the organ systems. And so pretty much from here on out, we're going to be taking it a system or two at a time. And so depending on the number of systems that we're covering, that'll make some changes to the test that we're taking. So the first thing I want to point out is, as always, you have a list of objectives that you need to be familiar with. This is a great way to study if you kind of break it up by objective and study them a few at a time. It's a little less overwhelming. And so we know that our notes and our videos and some of our practices are all broken down by these objectives. All right, here's our possible essay questions. Now, I do want to tell you that on this one, because there's only one system, you're only going to have one essay on your test. And instead of having two that count for 5 points, you're going to have one that counts for 10 points. So it's going to be even more important that you prepare. So you only have 3 possible. Once again, if you're preparing for the essays, you are also preparing for multiple choice material. So like you could easily see multiple choice questions about the 4 types of cells in the epidermis, the 3 types of skin cancer, and the 2 main layers of the skin. And so I would definitely prepare for these. Because that 10 points really could be the difference between an A and a B, B and a C, C and a D, or even failing the test. So make sure you're prepping for that essay for all 3, but you are only going to have to actually answer one of them on the test. And as always, you have your word bits. Okay, so you'll have a matching section for your word bits, and it's important to study those as well. Many of these terms will help you on other terms that you see in the multiple choice section of the test, okay? And many of these word bits you will see all throughout anatomy. All right, so that takes care of our things to know. It's a little bit shorter than usual because we only have one chapter. And so now let's take a look at our Moodle page. So here's our due date, okay? So we have another week. Hopefully you've already taken lecture test 2 by the time you're watching this. And so your next lecture test is going to be due on Monday, April 14th. So once again, your test needs to be completed by 8 because that's when the testing center closes. If you are taking it on Respondus, you also have to have it done by 8 o'clock. I recently emailed you guys about the Respondus lockdown browser. I just want to remind you that you can use Respondus at home, but you need to be really careful that you are taking the test like you are supposed to, because if we see testing irregularities, as far as I'm concerned, testing irregularities equals academic dishonesty. And so I want to make sure that you are well aware that you do not have to take it at home on Respondus. You do have the option to go to the testing center. And personally, I would highly recommend that. I would hate to give someone a 0 because of testing irregularities and they weren't necessarily doing anything wrong. But all we can see is what we see on the videos. And so I just want to encourage you that if at all possible, if you can, take that test in the testing center. There's a lot of different hours that are available. You could take it during the day, you could take it at night. The only day that they don't open at all is Saturday. And so the way the deadlines and the tests are set up is you have 5 testing center days to take it. If you're taking it from Respondus, you actually have 6 days. But the window opens on a Wednesday, and you have all the way until Monday to take it. So that gives you 5 days in the testing center. So regardless of your schedule, there should be some time that you could go to the testing center and take it. And that way we don't have to worry about testing irregularities. Now, you can still take it on Respondus, but I just want to be very clear that if you do that and you have testing irregularities, I will give you a 0. Okay, if your eyes are not on the screen, if you are moving out of the screen, if there's something weird going on, I don't want to have to question whether or not you are doing something that you are not supposed to do during the test. Okay, so just try to make sure that you are following directions, or just take it in the testing center and then we don't have any issues. All right, so things to know are listed here on your Moodle. We just took a look at those. Because we only have one chapter here, you just have one PowerPoint of notes, and there's your note handout if you like to fill those out. I don't know if you guys are using those or not, but definitely can be handy to fill out and study. We've got our lecture recordings like always. You have some study materials to help you. Now, one thing I want to point out are these in-class drawings. So in your packet, you will find some blank pages, okay? Now, me personally, I don't necessarily do this in class, but these pictures are something that Miss Grisham does with her class in person, and they kind of walk through and they draw these pictures. So even if you don't want to draw them, you do have access to the drawings, and this could be a great thing to study for your test. So you are welcome to use those. That's just an additional study tool, but they do those in person in class, and I don't really do it that way, but they could still be helpful for you. Let's see, where did we go? All right, so there's some of those study materials. There's different things that you can look at. You have some practice materials. Once again, these are broken down by objective. Just the more practice questions you can see, the better. You have a practice quiz, you have a practice test, and then you have your graded activities. Now, you actually don't have a lot to do for this unit. So you might want to consider getting it done a little earlier, and then you could start on the next lecture. But you only have one quiz that you need to take for a grade. Once again, due by April 14th. And then you have your 2 test options. So you have your testing center test, and then you have your Respondus test. Okay, once again, only one essay on this particular test because you only have one chapter. And that is going to wrap up our Lecture Test 3 overview. I appreciate those of you who are emailing me with questions. Please continue to do that if you have any. A question that you don't ask can't get answered, so never feel free to shoot me an email or come up and see me in person if you need any help. Hope you guys have a great day and a great week, and I will see you soon in the next video.